UFC Rotterdam punch-drunk predictions. What can I say? After a 4-week prediction hiatus, I thought only fitting to drop some Mase sampling the Welcome Back Kotter theme song off the top, because why not? Additionally, post-retirement Mase was so-so, but Harlem World was a monster and feels so good, and what you want hold up to this day. Also, I miss Total. I miss 90s R&B in general. Shout out to the soundtrack of my youth. Anyway, we've got an early morning kickoff in Rotterdam, Netherlands, and one of those cards that plenty will mock, but that usually end up being fun, entertaining affairs. Plus it's on Fight Pass, which means a quicker pace in the European announced team of John Gooden and Dan Hardy, which makes for a nice little Saturday morning return to watching UFC fights. Here's who I think will emerge victorious. These are the UFC Rotterdam punch-drunk predictions. Alexander Volkov vs Stefan Struve. Strip away that these guys are tall sales pitch the UFC has put forth for this one, and you've actually got an intriguing and potentially important fight in the heavyweight ranks as Volkov looks for the biggest win of his brief UFC career and Struve takes aim at a third straight victory and a spot on the fringes of title contention. This is a tough one to forecast because on the whole, Volkov has faced superior talent as of late, but Struve has looked more impressive in his last two than the former Bellator champ has in collecting decision wins over Timothy Johnson and Roy Nelson. There is always the concern that Struve walks himself into a firefight and gets scorched for his troubles, but I genuinely believe that the 29-year-old veteran has cleaned up some of the flaws that troubled him in the past and adopted a more aggressive approach that gives him the best opportunity to make use of his various weapons. Additionally, I'm not convinced Volkov is a top 10 UFC heavyweight. I know, that bar is pretty low, and I need to see him win a fight like this before I'll be sold. I think Struve will press the action early, take it to the ground and look to finish on the canvas, either with heavy ground and pound or a sneaky submission that catches Volkov by surprise. Prediction: Stefan Struve Sr. Bahadurzada vs Rob Wilkinson. Based on overall experience, Bahadurzada has a significant advantage, plus Wilkinson only got the call to take part in this fight a couple weeks back when Abuzader was forced off the card. That being said, Sr. the greatest fought once since December 2013, and that was 18 months ago when he submitted Brandon Thatch. Wilkinson has fought 6 times during that same span and has picked up 2 victories since Bahadurzada's win at UFC 196. I could end up being all kinds of wrong, but I'm taking the upset here. Wilkinson is durable and a solid wrestler with sound finishing instincts, and while Bahadurzada is tough to put away, the combination of time off and the Australian's relentless pressure and higher volume output are enough to have leaning towards the newcomer notching a victory in this one. Prediction: Rob Wilkinson. Marion Reno vs Toledo. Bernardo Reno was supposed to welcome inaugural featherweight champ Germaine de Randamie back to the cage and the bantamweight division, but the Dutch striker withdrew 10 days prior to the event with, get this, a hand injury. You know, the same hand that was bugging her immediately after her fight with Holly Holm in February. The same one that has evidently been an issue since she fought Larissa Pacheco at UFC 185 in March 2015. You couldn't see it, but I was shaking my head in disbelief as I wrote that, because are you serious? After going through almost an entire camp, Reno wanted to stay on the card, and her wish was granted as the organization tapped Bernardo to replace the Iron Lady. As much as I commend the Brazilian for jumping at the chance to make her promotional debut and doing so on short notice, Reno should win this one handily. This is a huge step up in competition for Bernardo, and Reno has more than held her own against a tough slate of opponents in the octagon to date and should get back into the win column here with a second-round stoppage victory. Prediction: Marion Reno. Leona Edwards vs Brian Barberena. Edwards has morphed into a surprising prospect in the welterweight division with 3 straight victories heading into this one, including a third-round submission win over the once highly regarded Albert Tumanov and a lopsided decision win over Vicente Luque last time out. He has good hands, improving wrestling and doesn't make many mistakes.